because the next team we're talking about, I think you guys are going to let the people know they're sneaky better than you expect, maybe. This
Maybe.
ends the Diamondbacks, and we will move on to the Colorado Rockies, baseball's most frustrating team, kind of. There's a lot of frustrating teams, but they shocked everyone this offseason. They missed the playoffs last year, went 74-87. They did not trade Trevor Story and get a return for him. They did not trade Gray and get a return for him at the end of last season. They kept them. Did they even make qualifying offers? I don't think they did for Gray, and they lost both guys. But Jake, who else did they lose, and who did they gain?
James, you're all over it at the stop. They lost Trevor Story, the franchise's shortstop for a bunch of years. Elite baseball player in this league. He's now in Boston. John Gray, he's a Texas Ranger. That he's a pitcher that liked pitching in Coors, and they didn't attack that strategically. Raimel Tapia in a trade that we'll be talking about. And Chris Owings is an Orioles. So, another bandwagon guy like myself who they added. And this is what really makes this kind of a fun conversation, probably more fun than my Snakes. They added Kris Bryant. They gave him the bag. Kind of weird after Arenado and Story, but they get their guy. Kris Bryant is a Colorado Rocky. Randall Grichuk, our guy, / tortured our Yankees. He goes over in the Tapia trade. Okay. Alex Colome, the reliever. Sure, why not? Jose Iglesias will be picking it at short for the Rockies. Interested to see what he's got on both sides of the field. Daniel Bard resigns. He called a short. Chad Kuhl will be at the end of the rotation. And Jhoulys Chacin, former Rockies great, is back. And guys, this is where I tell you, the names might not jump off the paper, but Trev, the rotation, in the words of my guy, Jim Calhoun, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all. They lost John Gray. That's tough. Omar Marquez is kind of like a sneaky. If you look at the numbers, they're not going to wow you. But pitching in Colorado's tough, and the guy knows how to do it. So you got him there. Kyle Freeland, obviously, the left-hander. Antonio Zenzatella, Austin Gomber, Chad Kuhl, Peter Lambert. Those guys are in the rotation and give them depth. In the bullpen, one of my buddies, Alex Colome. A lot of buckle in, Rocks fans. Carlos Esteves, Daniel Bard. Gotta love to see that. That's a great story. Robert Stevenson and Lucas. This is a tough one. Gilbreth, I believe. Not familiar with a ton of these guys' names. We're gonna dive into it a little bit deeper. But you're right, Jake. The rotation, not bad. And James, I think we're gonna kind of like the lineup. What's going on?
I just don't know if it's because it's familiar faces. It's like, well, how good are they? But all the names, a little bit of the Royals stuff that was going on, but then maybe some heavy hitters. Charlie Blackmon still bouncing around out there. Kris Bryant, as Jake said, comes over. Ryan McMahon, I read an article. I didn't read it. I just saw the headline. I wasn't going to click on it because it seemed ridiculous. Or some Rockies website saying that McMahon's value and production is better than Arenado's value and production. I laughed and I kept scrolling. CJ Cron. Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
Randall Grichuk. Jose Iglesias, Sam Hilliard, and Elias Diaz. And then it says they got a 5-man bench. That's a lot of bench guys.
You need a home and a road team, Jim. You told them.
Why do they have a 5-man bench? Connor Joe, one of the funnier names. Connor Joe. Yeah, that's the Rockies lineup. I don't know. You guys are saying it's better than it is. I don't know.
Trev, I'll go first. Again, another one of my teams. Turn my hat around real quick. And shout out to our girl, Kelsey Winger, going to be on the sideline for them this year. Let's go, Kelsey. Guys, here's the deal. And so we need to brainwash ourselves just a little bit. The Colorado Rockies, we kind of view them as a joke because of some of the Arenado, some of the Story stuff, even John Gray and some other organizational things that they have going on. Sure. This team finished 3 games above the Chicago Cubs last year. This team finished 2.5 games behind the New York Mets last year. So, I know we view them with kind of the bottom tier teams, the Pirates, the D-backs, the Nationals. They truly outperformed them. 10 games better than the Nationals last year. They were almost 20. They were more than 20 games better than my D-backs. So the Rockies have a little stink on them that we need to get away from just a little bit. And here's what it is. Ryan McMahon is a good young ball player. He plays really good defense, and the offensive stats get to a nice area. CJ Cron, Trev, I don't know if you looked at his stat sheet from last year, because this is a guy that's bounced around a lot, never got the full opportunity. He did, and he went nuts last year. Grichuk is just a power outfield guy. He's been doing it in the bigs for a while. Kris Bryant, what does Charlie Blackmon still have in the tank? Solid, a good season. Iglesias, I mentioned before, so interested to see what his final year looks like on both ends. Hilliard's kind of a freak. They've got some options. Brendan Rodgers is a guy I'd circle. This guy's a former top prospect. He's been banged up. Like, he's part of the reason they moved on from Story a little bit. And then you mentioned the rotation, like that 1 through 4. Remember, we were looking at Gomber's stats last year. Like, again, you have to get away from the ERA because of Coors Field, but those top 4 pitchers, in the realm of MLB rotations, they land in an okay spot. The bullpen's a little shallow. To be a reliever and sign up for Coors is a pretty tough ask. I think we think Rockies and you think roll over, but they finished better than the Cubs last year. They were in the Mets sights last year. It's not a good team. And again, it's a brutal division, but I don't think it should be as negative as we normally are.
Yeah. Well, people hate the
negative on the front office.
Yeah.
Because they've had a lot of talent and they just get rid of it. And then you think they're rebuilding that. So it's negative on the front office, but not on the team, kind of like the Indians. Like, we're like, hey, there's some guys here, but the front office stinks. Whatever. They had a bad first 2 months last year where they were under like 400 ball, and then their last 108 games they played winning baseball, 55 and 53. So they put it together. I'd be interested to see when the Dodgers games really took place there, because I think the Dodgers took care of them pretty handily last year. I know that they took care of the Padres and helped kind of that Padres collapse, and the Giants absolutely crushed them last year. So, like, against the heavy hitters in their division, the Giants won 15 games and the Dodgers won 13. So that's 28 losses at the hands of 2 teams in your division. And that might happen again.
Dude, they played 600 ball almost at home. That was the thing with the Rockies last year.
Yeah,
and the pitching staff, if you go back and look, about league average, but the hitters, it was really bad last year. 87 OPS plus. It was 4th worst in all of baseball. But you addressed that. They did. They addressed it with Kris Bryant, CJ Cron, Randall Grichuk. I mean, these guys have some gaudy projections from Fangraphs. Is Fangraphs like horny for offense this year? What's up with that? They got CJ Cron locked in for 31 homers. I understand it's Coors. I get it. But like, if you look at some of these projections that they have for these guys, I mean, we have a lot of like high 7s, 800 OPSs locked into this lineup. So if that's going to be a thing,
Fangraphs seems very high, especially if MLB really is using the non-ball. Like, all the DraftKings lines when we did our betting, they're all high. It's like,
they're all high.
What do they know? Are they using the juice ball again?
It sure seems that way, right?
Yeah. The collectively as a team, they had a 280 batting average at home, a 217 on the road, 342 on base percentage at home, 291 on the road, 817 OPS at home, 643 on the road. And that's why I suggested they should just have 2 lineups, like Jake mentioned at the start. They should have their top 4 guys that can play both spots, home and away. And then the back end should just be road, 5-man bench, completely platoon them. Obviously that's not a 100% real suggestion, but if you talk to Rockies players, they say hitting at home and hitting on the road, there's like a buffer window of adjustment like the first game back home or the first game on the road or first 2 games, you're just adjusting because the ball breaks so different. Everything feels different. And I was like, so just have people never have to make that adjustment. A home crew and a road crew. Try it out. Why not, Rockies?
And that's where, Trev, you hit what should be something circled for Rockies fans this year. You guys have heard me and Eno Saris, our guy. It's been too long. We need more Eno. We've nerded out over this, is that the Rockies, Coors Field is an alien of baseball. And in 20 plus years of the Rockies existing, we don't have a solution for them at Coors. And we heard Trevor's story, a guy that openly brags about his fitness levels because that's something he cares about so significantly. And he says Coors Field wore on him. And he's a guy that gave us his stats like he's a running back at the combine. So Coors Field, there's something there that can be a Rockies advantage. So I'm super interested in this year with the Rocks. Like you said, Trev, last year, they were a really good baseball team at home. Have they figured out their Rockies home formula and what that is, whether it's rest days or certain ways to pitch? You know, we've heard things about the low spin fastball, how that plays at Coors. Like, if they're finally getting there, that's a piece of the puzzle that the Rockies have been missing for a long time. That it's like when teams go and play the Denver Nuggets, when teams go and play the Denver Broncos, those teams have a huge advantage playing at altitude. There has to be a way that the Rockies can take advantage of that. And if they can, with another team that's, you know, probably a 70-ish win ball club, wherever that lands, but if they have another good road record or home record, then it's like, okay, so we've got a plan at home. Now we got to figure out the road thing, which I don't know if there is a solution for that, but at least you're figuring something out. So we'll see. We'll see with my Rocks.
I love this theory that we can like reverse engineer Coors Field and we can build a team. I love the idea. I think there's differences between the sports though. Like football is very much an athletic sport. So if you're training and playing in Colorado, like your oxygen level is going to be much, or your retention for oxygen is much higher. Like if you train up there, like, so when you go on the road, you're feeling great. Like you feel like you can run all day long. Your fitness is great. But baseball is really not that way. It's about the way the ball is moving and stuff. So I think they're going to have to find some sort of routine-oriented program to get guys back on track. We talked a story about making sure they're traveling with a pitch machine and just seeing a ton of nasty breaking balls just going and staying in there. The problem with that is time consuming. And on the road, you have like 1 cage, maybe 2 cages. You can't fit all the guys in there to get a real session in. So maybe it's the VR thing comes into play. Like they really got to dive into that and have guys taking fucking ABs in the hotel. I don't know. Maybe on the plane, you'll see guys up there. I don't know. Something has to change in the routine. I don't know what to do with the pitchers. If they got to touch the mound more when they get to a place. I agree. There's something there we could figure out. It's just, I think it's more routine oriented than just like trying to put players who do well there and not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
No.
Open for all theories. I don't know. So what do you got there over under as then, Jake? It's let's see, what do we got? It's 68.5. You riding the over here?
Hey, put everything in a pot. Who came in for the Rockies and who they lost. That seems very low.
Yeah, I agree.
And hey, don't get me wrong. I get it. Like if the Rockies finish below that, I don't think anyone would be shocked. When you put all the data in the pot, it's an easy over for me.
I agree with the over there because Kris Bryant said he's never played on a losing team and he doesn't plan to. So,
Ooh,
love that.
Mike Trout loves playing
trust
for
him.
a losing team. That's confirmed now.
Yeah.
If he didn't, he probably would say that and speak up.
I'm taking the over too. I hate agreeing with you guys so much, but I do, when you're breaking down the rosters, although maybe we look at the Dodgers and the Padres and even the Giants rosters and we're like, oh, because that has happened on these episodes. But I'll take the over as well.
And that's the two things that are a threat. I think the team we're about to talk about, the San Diego Padres, they ended up kind of punting last year. And the other thing that hurts, we haven't said anything because there's not much to say. The farm's kind of cleared out. One top 100 prospect, and he was a high school guy, 2025. So like this Rockies team, although on paper you're like, all right, it's kind of fun. I know a lot of these guys. There's not a lot of support coming. This is the cavalry. And man, they're going up against some big armies in the West. History guy.
A lot of history.
Armies. History.
That's the Rockies.